But now we move to a little segment that previously we called AI Bollocks, but then we realized that making a graphic for it is going to be a little bit difficult. So,
when I suggested to Cameron we just make bollocks as a slide,
I don't know why, but
I don't
Cameron
know why.
wasn't exactly...
He wasn't happy with that. So
Luckily, we came up with a new name for it. E equals mc² plus AI.
as suggested to us by someone on LinkedIn.
Who combined Einstein's famous equation relating energy to mass and the speed of light with the addition of artificial intelligence.
And my favourite response is physics, MIT, PhD. What?
But Jamie, it highlights the potential for AI to unlock new forms of energy and enhance science. I'm bored already. Anyway, first of all, the Nobel Prize winners were announced for this year, and there are a few interesting things in there. Because, Neve, do you want to explain?
Jamie. Nobel Prize for Chemistry. Interesting that it's more structural biology than chemistry.
Right up your alley.
It's because, it's the reason why I did a biochemistry degree, double the chances of getting a Nobel Prize. It's because we don't really have a Nobel Prize for biology. It's physiology and medicine, which is a whole other thing, but it's gone to two people at DeepMind's.
That's Google's
AlphaFold.
AI research lab.
Fold, which is it apparently has solved protein structure prediction, and although we're still trying to see how robust it isn't very good. Like proteins are, we now understand that quite a lot of them don't have set structures or have structures that are changeable, and AlphaFold isn't great with that. It's also gone to with Nobel Prizes you can have a maximum of 3 people. It's also gone to a slightly eccentric gentleman named David Baker, who's at Rosetta Fold, which is a competitor to AlphaFold, but he's not been awarded the prize for his work with that. He's been awarded the prize for sort of like general computational biology. But he's a very interesting character in the space. One of the people in my supervisor's lab went over to David Baker's lab and described it as being slightly akin to a cult.
Lovely.
Well, that's fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. The odd atmosphere. But yeah,
I love cults.
And also for
Laurie Anderson 2024.
But that wasn't the only Nobel Prize winner for AI.
The Nobel Prize in Physics 2024 went to two gentlemen named John Hopfield and Geoffrey Hinton, quote, for foundational discoveries and inventions that enable machine learning with artificial neural networks. I'm just trying to find... Yes, I believe they were the people who wrote the initial early papers back in the 1980s on the notion of neural networks and essentially simulating how the human brain works through neurons firing data at each other and assembling themselves into shapes that we know that has basically... It was sort of forgotten about for a few decades, and then somebody went, shit, this is good, we should do this, and here we are today.
Yeah. Like, is it good work? It's, founded the entire field of AI, basically. But is it physics?
Debatable.
Yeah. I think the fact that we've pinned sort of our, like, here is all of the important science to categories that a guy having an existential crisis came up with isn't necessarily useful.
Speaking of existential crises, Slack is working on features to integrate AI agents and assistants into it to allow, presumably, the likes of OpenAI and, OpenAI and Anthropic and all of them to integrate their large language model-based assistants into Slack. This is all still in very much developer preview. I only found this out because I was browsing through the Slack developer docs and I saw, this is new. So it's still in the works, but at some point, if you pay money for Slack, you may start seeing the option to have AI-powered agents and assistants in your Slack.
Why?
So you can just have a random chatbot. Like,
Wait.
I know chatbots exist in Discord. Like, there's one that's just called Yap GPT. So it just, chats random crap at you. Are we talking like that kind of?
Sort of. It would be prompt. It would have access to information. I believe, though I'm not 100% sure on this. It would have access to information from your Slack workspace if you gave it.
Security 100.
To be fair, of all the apps where you would consider going like this, Slack probably makes the most sense, given
Yeah.
it is already entirely driven around conversations. Speaking of conversations, Adobe
Stop.
had their Adobe Max conference earlier, where where they announced plenty of AI features, including a very interesting one that we haven't got in here because we're already running way over time. But one of the features they talk about, powered by Adobe Firefly, which
You
is their
will not
name
believe
for
your
AI,
eyes.
is Generative Extend, which essentially, in theory, lets you click and drag past the edge of a clip in Premiere to extend it.
No, I hate it.
You're not talking into the microphone.
I hate it.
I mean, as somebody who has gone, no, why did you end recording so early? I could see the value in it, but it comes into the whole debate of AI as a tool and whether it's helpful or hindering, which we're not have time to get into today. And then there's also another really cool one which you should look up, where Adobe Illustrator could take a 2D character, rotate it in 3D space, a full 360, and then flatten it again. So, for example, if you drew a character that's facing dead right, you could rotate it to see a bit of them from behind, and it'll fill in the details. It's really interesting. You should look it up. Anyway, and
I have a lot of opinions about AI being used for art-related purposes anyway.
we don't have time to go into them today. So, the final entry is,
Oh, yes, I said this one.
in case you were wondering how Apple Intelligent's notification summaries would handle you receiving a text from your partner saying that they're breaking up with you, this is how.
So, because we talked about, was it an earlier show we talked about the Apple
Notification summaries, yes.
Yeah, we did. I was wondering if we talked about it on the show or if we just talked about it. But obviously, we saw what Cameron's looked like of messages in Slack, and I just saw this one come
Some of them are
across my
questionable, but
Twitter.
this is better. I just love the phrasing of no longer in a relationship, wants belongings from apartments.
It sums it up, doesn't it?